going on? I'm Tevrin.
And I'm Ali.
And this is
TevOllie Talk.
Today, we are going to be discussing trigger words.
Yes. I'm going to start it off. Now, when you have issues, because there are always something, there's always something in relationships. There are disagreements. There are things that happen. Trust gets tested and all types of stuff, where you'll end up having verbal disagreements or what have you with your significant other. Trigger words is something that you say or someone could say to you that triggers you into feeling a heightened sense of anger, emotion, or whatever the case may be.
Set you off.
It might set you off, absolutely. And so one thing that I learned through life about trigger words and things that trigger me, and I've found that they trigger a lot of people. When you implement always and never. So, for example, if I said, you never do the dishes, or I said, you always do me like this, or talk to me like this, those are trigger words. And the reason why they are is because they're never accurate.
No.
There is never a case where someone at all times always does something or never, ever does something. It just doesn't necessarily work out that way. And it brings up more in the negative. Like it causes you to want to combat that. It causes others to want to combat that. Like, okay, no, I have an example of when I did, or
Right.
I have an example when I didn't. And so that prolongs the disagreement. It really does.
You got to cross that barrier before you can get to the root of the problem.
Absolutely. It just, and I found out that I say absolutely a lot. Anyways,
Absolutely.
indubitably. But no, it definitely does. It will take away from the root of the problem, because now someone has to prove something else. Someone has to prove or discount what you just said. And it's not true. It's not the reality of the situation majority of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And like another example would be, I hate when. When you say to someone, I hate when you hang out with your friends. I hate when you do this. I hate when you do that. Hate is such a strong word.
Yeah,
And
for one.
it is such a strong word to say that I hate when you do something. It's like basically saying, if you do it again, I don't know. Like, this is it. And if it's not that serious, don't make it that serious. We have to learn how to communicate without crossing thresholds that you can't come back from.
Yes.
Like she said, when you say, you always do this, or you never do this, you never listen to me, you never talk to me.
It's not true.
Let's try like naming specific incidents. You could come to him and be like, babe, yesterday I washed the dishes and you left a cup in there. That really bothered me. Because I spent all day cleaning, and as soon as I finished, you just came and slapped the dish. Now, that's one thing she could say, okay, babe, I'm sorry. Or if she wants to get defensive, she can. But at least I presented it in a manner where her getting defensive is her own choosing. I didn't set her off. Now, if I come to her and be like, every time I wash the dishes, you always putting stuff back in the sink, that may not be the case.
Yeah. They might not be a habitual offender.
Yeah, it may not be a habitual glass in the sink putter.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
it's not necessarily true all the time. And also, when you say I hate when, it means like this has been something that's prolonged. This means that it's been going on and you never said anything.
And you should have addressed it.
It should have been addressed a long time ago.
Before it got to hate.
Because I hate things like this. It's different from I hate when.
Yeah.
Because that means that they have been doing it and you hadn't said anything about it. Now, I'm not trying to be like very harsh about that or like, step up and say something, when somebody does something, because you want to give things a chance.
Right.
I get that. But what are you saying by I hate when you do this, especially if this is the first time a person has ever even heard of this.
Yeah, like you never brought it up before, and personally, most people are going to have the response of, "Well, I've been doing this whole time. Why all of a sudden do you hate it?"
Yeah.
And that raises a lot of other questions in that other person's mind.
Takes away from the root of the
Takes away
problem.
from the problem.
Yes.
And when you're in a relationship with someone, and you guys want to have longevity in that relationship, you have to have the ability to communicate with each other when there's an issue. You have to be able to say, "Babe, I need to talk to you. This has been bothering me. You don't do it all the time. Sometimes you gotta put a little sugar on there. You know what I'm saying? You gotta put a little seasoning on there sometimes to say, you don't do it all the time, but a few times when I've done this, or a few times you've done this, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And do it in a private setting. Don't try to embarrass anybody. I'm saying this because I have been guilty myself of venting to social media.
Yeah.
The world does not need to know what goes on in your household, and that's why people don't have peace at home, because you invite the world into your problems. That is impossible to have peace at home. We have our issues as a relationship, as all do, but what we want to be careful with is who we allow to know our problems, because they could use that against you. The world could use that against you. You can be inviting vultures in your life. Someone can see that as a sign of vulnerability and think, I can slide in. Oh, he ain't taking care of business at home. Let me go and shoot my shot real quick.
Yeah. The world doesn't love you.
No, they don't.
And so they don't understand. The world doesn't understand what you mean by that.
Right. We see it all the time. I know we all have people where it's like, man, they always got problems.
Mm-hmm.
We all always have problems, but all of us don't broadcast them publicly for the world to know. I'm dealing with this, dudes ain't nothing. I'm sick of this, whatever, deactivating my account, whatever. You don't have to
Yeah.
do that. You do not have to go that route.
Yes, and it also says to your partner and to the rest of the world that I can't talk to you.
Yeah.
I can't talk to my partner, so I'm going to talk to everybody else.
Everybody else.
That is hurtful.
Yes.
That is a trigger.
Yes, it is.
And it's not fair to the other person, because when you're blindsided, a lot of people go on social media for recreational use.
Yeah.
And when you go on there to get a laugh or to catch up with people,
Meme
and
shopping.
your significant other is saying terrible things that are in regard to you and your relationship, it hurts. It hurts, and it's a blind side. Like it because they didn't say it to your face.
Right.
Or if they did say it to your face and you thought it was resolved, and
Right.
it wasn't,
And it
because
wasn't.
now the world needs to know about it. That's not fair.
That's not fair at
It's
all.
not fair at all. And so these are like triggers that, like, a lot of times we go through and don't understand, even though it triggers you, it might not trigger the other person. So you have to think about, like, who am I going to be hurting here? Like, it might not trigger me, but it will trigger someone else.
Right.
You have to think about these things, and these are just general triggers for what we've gone through and what we know out of our own
Things
knowledge.
we've seen.
What do you have? What triggers do you have? And you have to, like, really take a look at it, invest yourself into knowing what really sets me off.
Right.
And when a person does something to set you off, am I talking to them? Or do I go on and try to set them off? Tit for tat. Man.
Tit for tat.
Tit for
I
tat.
hurt you, or you hurt me, so let me let you feel what I feel.
Yeah.
That a lot of people may not agree with what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It's immaturity. That's exactly what it is. It's a temper tantrum. It's a tantrum. It's tantrum-ish. You cannot communicate, so you're throwing a fit about it. I can't talk to you, so I'm gonna try to hurt you. You said something that you didn't like that I did, and instead of me facing that problem head on or saying, is she right? Do I do these things? Is she right? Is this something that I do frequently to the point where she has to bring it up, or the fact that she may not be able to talk to me? That could be a problem, especially long term. If a person, they may deal with it, for a brief moment or a brief time in your relationship, but at some point, they're going to want to be able to hash these things out. and they're going to want to do so in a manner that you can reach a solution sooner rather than later. How can we work through these problems?
And if you have somebody that loves you, it's not always the best decision to go into something and think that they are doing something intentionally to hurt you.
Yes.
First off, because that's how you get to the point where I'm going to hurt them too.
I was bad at it.
I mean, yeah, he was really bad at it, because if I brought up something, like, hey, I'm going to use an example. There was some clothes I folded. And
we laugh about it now because we worked it out.
All right. There was some clothes I folded. You don't scare nobody. And he worked on the dryer. And so he put in those clothes that I folded up for him to put away wherever he wanted to put them. They were in a basket. And he put more stuff on top of them. And more clothes. They were clean clothes that just got out the dryer. He had to fix the dryer. So he put those clothes on top of the clothes that I folded for him. And when I go to fold the next batch, I pour out everything. And all of the folded clothes that I had for him they just got, ruined. And
Unfolded.
I had to redo it again. I brought it up to him and I said, hey, I just folded these clothes and then you put stuff on top of them. I can't, now I didn't know that they were there, and now I have to redo this stuff again. And instead of it being like, okay, what's the issue here? This was a long time ago, but instead of that being like, okay, what's the issue here? How are they feeling, or what are they going through right now?
She did just work hard for me.
Yeah.
She didn't have to fold my clothes. Yeah. So let's,
And so it was kind of like, well, I do this and I do that.
Wrong.
And the issue never got resolved. So now I don't fold none of his clothes. That was like
But that was the solution. And
that's the only way I could get through it.
But the thing is, I don't even fix my mouth to ask, because I know what I did to her. She stepped out on a limb to do something for me because she saw, okay, he's fixing the dryer. Let me fold the clothes. You doing us a favor, I'm going to do you a favor. We can work together. And she had the absolute right approach. She wanted to help me, and then, I got a little bogged down with the dryer. It may have frustrated me, whatever the case may be, but it was not her fault, and I should not have taken it out on her. When she did me a favor, I should have just said, babe, well, thank you, and I'm sorry. I'll help you fold these clothes back up. That's what should have happened.
Yeah, and it's okay now. You know what I'm saying? I understand it, but you don't want to be tit for tat with people, because for one, you miss the actual issue.
Man, they get drowned.
It gets drowned and it gets forgotten about, because all of these trivial things now they're being combated, and it doesn't have to be the case. We can go through life. Mm-hmm. We can go through situations and relationships getting to the root of everything that's going on.
Yes.
You can. You can go in there and sit back, listen to somebody going off on you. And sit back and say, I think that this is coming from here. I'm sorry for that part.
Yeah. Man, and sometimes that person can realize, like, I've been going off.
I'm sorry I've been shooting off like this.
Yeah, but the thing is, what they really wanted to deal with, you guys are able to deal with because you were able to hear the problem. And let's talk about, what do you do when somebody triggers you? We didn't rehearse this part.
No, we didn't rehearse anything.
Put her on the spot.
When someone triggers me, I'll give my own example. When someone triggers me, I usually don't say much. And majority of the time, I'm not going to say all the time, I'm not going to say always. Majority of the time, I try not to get on the level that individual is on.
That's very true.
If there's been times where I'll sit back and say, I don't want you to get angry, because I can feel it. Like, if you start talking loud, then I'll just sit back and be like, well, I don't want you to get angry.
Yeah.
And then now he gotta make a choice.
Yeah. Do I want to keep being a dick, a butthole, or do I want to bring it down some?
Yeah.
You know.
You can control and that's the thing. It's just like chasing someone. You cannot. Oh, my shirt is. I'm sorry, but you cannot. You can't chase someone that isn't running.
Right.
And so, and I've done it at work. I've done it like with my child, and I've done it with my significant other. If somebody is going off, flying off the rails with something, that doesn't mean you have to get up with them and do the same thing.
Right.
So majority of the times I try to stay calm and not say much. I'll let it spill out. Go ahead, say everything.
I think we both done that.
Yeah, we definitely have.
Both done that.
Yeah.
Like there have been times where she's been going off on me, and it'll be a session.
Yeah.
And I'll just sit there.
Yep.
And I'll let her get it out because I realize at that moment she's hurt right now, and she got a lot she wants to say.
I had a couple drinks.
Yeah, and even if the delivery is not favorable, I can't react to the delivery. I have to process the message that she's trying to send,
Absolutely.
and then I have to work on that so we don't have to, have that again. If I could give advice to people who's listening, when you have a problem with your significant other, the ability to keep it from getting rowdy, keep it at a level like we're talking to you today. Hey, look, we need to talk about this. And I really don't want to, I'm not trying to, sometimes you have to, I don't want to say be apologetic, but sometimes you have to soften the blow. This is not your enemy. This is not your, this person is not out to hurt you. And you're genuinely trying to resolve an issue without hurting that person. And you should keep that in the forefront. Mm-hmm. Come to them in a way that's like, listen, I feel like we need to talk about something. I don't want to make it a big issue, but this is just something that's bothering me. And I know if I don't say anything about it now, it's going to bother me more later and it could be bigger.
Mm-hmm. It could explode later.
Yeah, it could explode later. So sometimes that person may appreciate the fact that a mature person or a person that is, not easily triggered could take that and say, okay, well, what you got? Mm-hmm. Open their ears up before you.
And come into this willing and ready and wanting to resolve it.
Yes.
Not
to fight.
Not to fight. I mean, it's not a match on who's tougher.
Not with your partner.
Not with your partner. Yeah. I mean, and we get caught up in that a lot. Mm-hmm. I've gotten caught up in it. I don't know, like maybe you have too, but it's just like, okay, you try to say something smart, you try to throw some big words in there. I could throw some big words too. Yeah. And it's not that type of part. What's the problem here?
Get so far away from the problem that by the time that conversation is over, y'all don't even know what y'all mad about no more.
Yes. And it's not worth it. That's a trigger.
Yes.
That is a trigger. Tit for tat is a trigger. Because somebody came in here upset for a reason. You getting upset because they're upset. You don't have no reason. Yeah. They got a real reason. Let's get to that real reason. Why are you coming in here upset?
Right. And
there's nothing wrong with having peace. And going about it like, okay, hey, you are upset.
Right. And we say that because
not me.
And this is why we're talking about trigger words. Because if you want someone to hear you, you can't light a match in the gas, you can't light a match in the gas can and expect no fire to happen.
Yeah.
If I want you to listen to me, I have to approach you. Bring the energy that you want in return. Because if I come to you and be like, look, I'm sick of this, then they're going to, for one, once you say that, they're going to be like, whoa,
Yeah.
She's in there doing her makeup and you have an issue with something. Don't go in there disrupting it like with hostility. Mm-hmm. You can present an issue without being hostile. Mm-hmm. If he playing the game 2K, don't go smacking him upside the head. Be like, do. You don't have to do that. We don't have to do that to each other. We're partners.
Yes.
That stuff is a gateway into worse things. Mm-hmm. When you can't communicate in the beginning, it only gets worse as time goes on. and then you will never be able to communicate with that person ever again, and you ruin your chances of even knowing what the future with that person could even potentially be like because you can't communicate.
You can say some stuff that you can't come back
Yeah,
from.
communication is the foundation of every relationship.
Absolutely.
And if you can't put that pillar into play, your foundation gonna crumble.
Yes. Communication is a foundation. Is that a thing?
I don't know. I just made that up, so it is now.
It is though. I mean, it has to. It should be a part of the foundation. You know, we're not experts
No, we're not.
on couples therapy or nothing like that.
This
but
is real talk.
this is from our own understanding of it, and we're not saying that we have all of it down pat either. But we know through experiences what could have worked better.
Yeah,
You know, that is what it is.
we're both willing to. You know, work on some things and figure out. Okay, I didn't handle this like I should have handled this. So next time going forward, you know, I'll do things differently. I think we both had times where we will try to deal with the problem, made another problem, and then went back and said, okay, now I heard your problem, and I also see where this went awry. I see where we went wrong. We're talking to each other about it, and man, you would not believe the difference that makes over time. You know, you have to really work at communicating. You have to work on your presentation. You have to work on your listening skills. All of these are parts of communication. You have to be able to hear. You have to be able to respond properly. You have to know when to respond. You know, you have to know when to be quiet. If I've been talking for 35 minutes and we're supposed to be having a equal conversation and then
You took the floor.
I just snatched the floor. You like, well, damn, all right.
I'm not gonna do that again. Right. You know, and like that's a part of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily understanding different emotions, it's understanding how people react to you. You should know what you do to people.
Where am I right now?
Who, like, how do people look at me? How does this person see me?
Yeah.
What am I doing to this person? That's a part of emotional intelligence. And of course, I'm not an expert about it. I got a little book back there. I didn't finish it. But, you know, but that is the general aspect of it. You know, it's understanding emotions and that people have it towards you. And you have to understand that too. It's not just about you. You're not the only person in the world. And everybody should not have to deal with everything you got going on. What about somebody else?
Right.
And so, but anyway, those are trigger words.
Yeah, triggers are not just for only your significant other. Just practice it.
Yes.
It has to be something that you can't. I can't be not triggering her, and then I go out into the world and I'm triggering everybody else. You know, don't make enemies where there are no enemies.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to say, okay. She said that I say things like you always and never. Like, make it your mission to say, today I'm going to see how many times I say you always or you never. And work on it. Work on getting that count down.
Yep.
Work on saying, you know, like, sometimes when you do this, I feel like this. That is communication. That is saying, this is an issue. This is how this issue made me feel. And I'm open to how we can work on it. Now let's open the floor to talk about it.
And also, just going back on, like, if you are doing well at, like, you get along with everybody at work, you do everything you have to do to maintain socially how you should be at work, and then go home and argue with your significant other
All the time.
all the time, there's something that's not right there. For one, bring that same energy home.
Yeah.
You work
That effort
on
home.
how you treat people, what you say to people, and, you know, and how you respond to people saying things to you. You got to do that at home too. And I'm not saying that your relationship should be a job, but there should be the same amount of
That is.
respect. I mean, well, yeah.
It's your job.
It's your job to do. You have certain responsibilities in a relationship, but, you know, it should have the same amount of respect and the same like need for you to get it right in order for your life to be okay. That's the same. You have to do the same thing with your relationship.
Yes.
And so that's our take on it.
It is. Our take. And by just to throw this disclaimer out there, Like this video, share this video, subscribe to our channel, please. We appreciate everybody who supported us so far. Thank y'all so much. We have actually made progress faster than I expected, and it gives me energy to want to keep giving you guys my honest opinion. Just try to be real with everybody and try to see if we can help somebody, because I'm sure that there's somebody listening right now that has a significant other or a parent or a family member or a friend that they just can't get through to, and your delivery, what's the Life Genesis song? Your delivery is whack. Work on that delivery,
Wiggity
man.
whack.
Yeah. I can deliver you a pizza and I can slam it in your face, or I can ring on your doorbell and be polite. Either way it go, you getting that pizza.
Yep.
So how do you want that pizza?
How you want it?
How you want it? You know what I'm saying? So think about that. Think about the delivery.
Thank you guys for watching, and as always, peace.